covering the High Plains with news, weather, and information. From TV 23 Studios in Sublet, this is High Plains Today.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this special edition of High Plains Today. I'm joined by Janeth Vazquez, and Janeth she's a unique case. She has been, you were born in Mexico.
Yes.
You came to this country. You went through the citizenship path. You are now a citizen of the United States.
Correct.
And you've done everything right.
Correct.
But we're going to talk about, she's an immigration advocate, I guess I would call her. But that's okay.
That's what I call myself.
Well, we need to talk about this kind of stuff. But now, just this week, there was a big thing. Secretary of State Kobach was talking about, the financial package for undocumented immigrants, and that was what
he was trying to
HB 2643.
Yes,
and he wanted to make it so that if you were an undocumented immigrant who had established residency in the state of Kansas, that you had to start paying out-of-state tuition if you were going to community college, technical schools, the big universities, whatever, right?
Yes.
Is that what it
correct.
was?
Yes.
Okay.
So it died in the House committee yesterday, which I am actually extremely happy. The reason for that is I'm a former undocumented immigrant myself, and I have students that are undocumented immigrants. And so it's a big challenge because, one, they don't get any financial aid whatsoever to go to school at all. They don't get FAFSA, Pell Grants, nothing.
All right, so here's a for instance, right? If I was born and raised, say, in Iowa, and I wanted to go to Wichita State, and I am undocumented, I would come to Kansas and the 6 months or a year, whatever it is, establish my residency. Then I could pay in-state tuition to Wichita State, right?
Correct.
I would not be eligible for any FAFSA, Pell Grants, any kind of financial aid, right?
Correct.
I'm paying the whole load.
Yes, you would have to pay for it yourself.
All right. So what Secretary Kobach wanted to do was to do away with that or change the bill. So if I moved from Iowa to Kansas, established residency for 6 months, a year, and went to Wichita State, I would still pay out-of-state tuition.
Correct.
So that's what the whole thing was about.
So basically, to summarize it in simple words, yes. So basically what he wanted to do is he wanted to repeal in-state tuition for undocumented immigrants. So to even qualify for in-state tuition, like you said, you have to establish residence in Kansas for 6 months to a year. Otherwise, you don't qualify for in-state tuition. But what he wanted to do is he actually wanted to eliminate that. And he wanted, it doesn't matter if you had been here 5 years, 20 years, you were going to have to pay out-of-state tuition.
Plus, we were talking earlier, isn't there an international fee for some of these schools also?
Yes, so some institutions do have international fees, and so it's to the discretion of the state if they want to do international or out-of-state fees.
So it'd be like Wichita State, Seward County, whatever, Dodge City. It would be up to them whether they wanted to impose the international fee?
It would basically be up to the state because each state sets their own provisions on how, I guess, if they want to offer in-state or out-of-state tuition. They basically are the ones that set those provisions.
Okay, so this is kind of like a Board of Regents thing, maybe?
Yes, so it's Kansas. It's up to Kansas. Mm-hmm.
All right.
And so I think it's been like 6 to 8 years that they are able to. I think I want to say 2004, but I'm not exactly sure. So I don't want to say anything that's incorrect. But before, you had to pay out-of-state tuition until some bill was introduced, which is the HB 2643, and that is what gave students the opportunity, if they were undocumented, to pay in-state tuition.
Okay. Well, and in Southwest Kansas too, you look at it now. You hear about maybe students coming from Oklahoma or Colorado, Texas, Panhandle, those types of areas that say go to Seward County, Dodge City Community College, Garden City Community College. Those schools, a lot of those schools have reciprocal agreements with, say, Colorado, Oklahoma, Texas, some of these close states, to where if you're a certain distance, then you may get to pay in-state tuition. So this is not to be confused with any of that, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's completely.
That's a whole different deal.
That's a whole different
And
deal.
we're not even going to go there.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing, but it's basically what this bill wanted to do was take in-state tuition away from undocumented
any
students.
undocumented, and just not
From
Hispanic.
Kansas, because if they're not from the state, then they have to pay out of state
Right,
tuition.
and it's just not
regardless.
Hispanic. And don't think that this
Yes.
is just an Hispanic deal.
Yes.
I mean, this is any undocumented because if you're here on, say, a work visa or something like that, would that affect you there too?
Yes, it depends on what kind of visa you have too. If you don't have any permanent residence established, then yes, you do not qualify for financial aid. Okay. You have to be a permanent resident or USA citizen to be able to receive federal assistance from the government for education.
Okay. This makes a big difference.
It does. And
Wow.
so it makes it
Right.
way harder on students to be able to afford and go to school.
Yeah.
Just because, they don't get any aid. They don't get loans.
I know, and it's
so-
not like, and tuition has been going up and up and up.
It does.
I mean, it keeps going up
It
every year.
does.
So,
College
okay.
is more
All right,
expensive.
now, we got the hard part. We got that one out of the way. That's going to be the easy one. Because we're going to take a break, and when we come back, Janeth and I are going to start talking about, she's been doing a lot of trips. She's been taking a lot of trips to Washington, D.C., meeting with senators and representatives and all kinds of people. And we're going to start talking about the DACA process, right?
Yes.
All right, so stick around. Janeth and I will be back right after this.
You're watching High Plains Today on TV 23 with host Chris Jewell. TV 23's internet service and 4G live streaming provided by United Wireless. Coverage you deserve. Service you expect. United Wireless.
Hi, I'm Chris Jewell, host of High Plains Today, a 30-minute news and information program that airs at noon weekdays right here on TV 23. Hey, do you think you have an idea for something that would make a great segment? Somebody that would make a great interview? What about a community event that needs highlighting? Let us know here at the station. Email us news@kdgltv.com. Welcome back to this special edition of High Plains Today. I'm here with Janeth Vazquez. She is an immigration advocate. That's what I said last segment. All right, we talked about House Bill 2643. We got all that out of the way. If you're undocumented, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going back there because I still...
It's confusing.
Yes. All right, but let's talk about DACA because you made a lot of trips to Washington, D.C., and to Topeka and every place else. And you've been talking with people on both sides in Washington, Republicans and Democrats, because come to find out, this is not just all Republicans want this to go away. I mean, there's a good share of Democrats in Washington, D.C. that want DACA to go away also, right?
Yes. So like I said, this is not just an issue of Republicans or Democrats. There's people on both sides that want them here, and there's people on both sides that don't want them here.
All right. Now, this is where it's going to get deep. Explain DACA to me.
Okay, so
and
DACA,
I know you got to use your notes because it's a long list.
It's confusing. As much
right.
as I've talked about it, there's so many little details to it that it's hard to memorize. But
Okay.
DACA is Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. And so basically it's a permit that they give to undocumented immigrants. And they get a social security card to be able to go to work. And then with that, they can get a driver's license. But the biggest key thing to it is it saves them from deportation for 2 years. Now, DACA has to be renewed every 2 years, and it's approximately $500 what they have to pay. But to qualify for DACA, there's intense criteria that you have to meet. So you had to have been under the age of 31 as of June 15th of 2012. You also came to the United States before you were 16 years of age. And then you had to have continuously resided since June 5th of 2007 up to now. You also...
Okay, so the recited, when you say 2007, does that mean that you...
So you have to have
you
been
got your
here.
card and then but you've gone back and...
You have to have been in the U.S. So basically,
since 07,
from
okay.
2007 to now, you have to
Okay.
be present in the U.S.
Okay, All right.
Wow.
Wow.
And then also you have to be in school, have graduated or completed some kind of certificate of completion from high school or obtain your GED. And then you can have absolutely no criminal record whatsoever.
Okay.
So they do an intense background check on every single person.
All right. And with a Social Security card, you know who they are, and pretty much with a driver's license stuff, who they are
Exactly.
and where they are.
Yes.
Okay. So they're somewhat documented.
Exactly. No,
So-
they're fully documented.
Well, okay, all right. I didn't want to throw that out there.
Yeah,
'cause I didn't
I
wanna-
mean, they're basically under the microscope. Like I said, they cannot they can't afford to make a mistake. They really can't. The second if you were to get convicted of any crime, you would lose your DACA.
So you get convicted of a felony or anything like that.
Oh yeah, you would be sent back. You're deported.
All right. Okay. So with all that said, now, every 2 years you have to go get your card. But now, is that the one where they just did away with that or want to do away with? Okay, we're not giving out any more cards.
So
Or there was a deadline.
So it's
right?
a roller coaster. It's been a roller coaster of emotions for students because there's no uncertainty as to what's going to happen. So first they came out, they gave DACA. Then the president administration decided to get rid of it. But then a federal judge came and ruled that was unconstitutional. So now they have to continue to renew permits, but they are not accepting new applications. But that's not a guarantee. Like, we don't know what can happen from 1 week today to several months. The Dreamers, as of right now, are not safe. And the thing is that they gave him up until March to have renewed. And the permits are starting to run out now. So the thing is, you can renew it as of right now, but tomorrow will you be able to renew it? A week from now, will you be able to renew it? So there's really no safety for Dreamers right now because we don't know what's going to happen.
So, all right, and we know who they are and where they are.
We know everything. We know where they go to school, where they go to school.
So you could, all right. But this makes no sense because how many Dreamers are there, they say?
There's about 800,000 that.
All right, so we're not going to just go load
qualified.
up 800,000 people. I mean, that would be ridiculous, no matter what anybody thinks, right? If you're thinking that, stop thinking it. So, all right, so what is the proposal now? I mean, where are we going to go from here?
There's so many proposals out there. It's hard to say. When I went and I talked to different congressmen, there's just so many proposals out there. The latest, I want to say a week ago, there was 4 proposals and none of them went through. And so as of right now, nothing has moved forward.
Okay, because the latest thing was, they had, I think, Senator McCain and a couple of guys had them.
Yeah, the McCain-Coon
Yes,
bill.
and there was 2 or 3 more. And then they got down to the one that the president wanted.
Yes.
Was, okay, we'll do the DACA stuff, but you got to give me money for the wall. Right?
Yes, and which I guess we the Dreamers or we the immigrants, we're okay with that. Give him his wall, we want that too. I mean, we don't want people that are criminals here that shouldn't be here. They need to be sent back too. So we're okay with the wall. We're okay with the extra security. The only thing that I personally was not okay with is, yes, it saves the Dreamers, but what about their parents? So the Dreamers, it's kind of like a token game. Like the Dreamers were going to be saved, but then the parents were up for jeopardy for being deported because there's so much increased deportations and more security and stuff like that.
So that's another can of worms.
And the thing is that the Dreamers were not able to petition for their parents. So how is a Dreamer going to be successful when their parents are going to be removed? Then we have all the emotional, psychological, financial problems.
Yes. Okay. Hold that thought because we're going to get into that can of worms. Janeth and I are going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to open up another can of worms on the, parents and all that kind of stuff, okay? So stick around. We'll be back right after this. Hi, Chris Jewell, host of High Plains Today, a 30-minute news and information program that airs weekdays at noon right here on TV 23. We talk about news, we talk about sports, we talk about weather, we're even going to talk entertainment. We'll have live guests right here on set with me. So, every day at noon, tune in, High Plains Today. We'll see you then.
Weekdays here on TV 23.
Welcome back to this special edition of High Plains Today. I'm here with Janeth Vazquez. She's an immigration advocate, okay? I'm just going to throw that out there. Now, we've been talking about a plethora of stuff. We've been talking about DACA mainly. And we got into, the Dreamers and all that kind of stuff. Now we're going to get into the big can of worms, because this leads us into the chain immigration thing, right? And so if you're a student here or a dreamer and you've got the permit and the card and everything, but your parents are undocumented, then they're the ones who are going to be probably
Put at risk.
put at risk to be deported, correct?
Correct.
And even if they've been living here since, who knows, right?
Yeah, so like I said, there's no certainty as to what's going to happen with Dreamers. One of the senators told me that they could potentially start deporting Dreamers. I can't say if that's true or not, because like I said, it's a roller coaster. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But that's just, I guess, an input I got from a senator. He told me that they don't really care to have a solution for Dreamers. They want to deport him. But let's say that they do.
Okay, so you've got some up there that in Washington that, okay, no, let's just get rid of everybody. And it doesn't matter if you're Hispanic or Middle Eastern or Japanese. I mean, it applies, correct?
Yes.
This is just not a Latin America
No, it's not.
thing.
Exactly. People tend to associate it with Latinos, Mexicans, but you'd be surprised. When I was at the Capitol, I saw a variety of immigrants from all over the U.S. Or I'm sorry, from all over the world.
Okay, all right.
It's different. It's even different for me, because even though I know there's different immigrants besides Latinos, it just opened up my eyes. Like, wow, this is
that seems
an
to be
issue
the big
everyone.
one though that we hear about all the time, because where we're located in Southwest Kansas, and then you go Texas, Mexico.
Yeah.
It's right there. Okay. So this chain immigration, now this is where it gets really sticky, right? Because with the chain immigration, you could apply if I was a dreamer, correct? Is this how it works?
No.
Or if I was a citizen, help me with this.
Okay, so right now, so the president administration had their own bill of what they wanted to pass, and on that included an end to chain migration, is how a lot of people know it as or refer to as. I feel like there's a lot of misconception. Chain migration doesn't mean that you can go and apply for like your grandparents, your uncles, and your cousins, your first cousins, etc. No. You can't just go.
Removed.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah. No. You can't just go and apply for the world. That's not how it's gonna happen.
Because that's what they make it sound like.
Yes, I know.
I'm just saying that's what the media makes it sound like.
I know, but that's not the case from personal experience myself. So basically, what this would end is it would end the possibility, say, the dreamer in the future could become a U.S. citizen. So it would not allow them to petition for their parents.
But their parents may already be living here and may have lived here for 20 years.
Exactly, 20, 30 years.
And so, all right.
And so that basically means that the dreamer, if he is ever given the opportunity to become a U.S. citizen, he cannot petition for his parents. And so
basically, they won't be able to petition for anybody.
Exactly. If it depends too. Also, like they're wanting to change the criteria too. It's just so complicated because it's a case by case situation, but they won't be able to petition for their parents. But then it also depends if that bill is even going to allow dreamers to become citizens, or if they're going to allow them to become permanent residents, or if they're just going to get a renewable permit every 2 years, 3 years. So it just depends. There's so many bills out there. It's hard to say, but from the president, that's what he wanted. He wanted to give them a permit. He wanted to give them 12 years to become citizens. But then
that's the pathway to citizenship.
But then he wanted to remove the, chain migration to where you cannot petition for your parents. And then with that, it included a lot more, the border wall, more security, more enforced deportations throughout the United States. So then that would put the dreamers' parents at risk for deportation.
All right. Plus also, though, with the deportation, when you were talking about some of the dreamers being deported, and let's think about, you, born in Mexico, and you came through, but before the Dreamer Act and everything, and you've become a United States citizen, but you are lucky enough that you speak Spanish.
Yes.
But let's look at somebody who came here, because you came to the United States when you were 3.
Yes.
But somebody that came here, say that they were 6 months, 1 year old, whatever, and they don't, whatever country they've come from, don't speak the language.
The majority of the dreamers that I have met don't speak Spanish or I guess
whatever
the
language.
language that they're from. They're not familiar with the history of their country. They don't even know. If they were to send back, it would be so bad that they wouldn't even know how to purchase a Coke at the store. You know, money is different, and so they wouldn't know how to simply just go and purchase something at the store. They wouldn't know how to drive on the road because here we have miles per hour. Down there, it would be different.
You go to the so it'd be a lot
the
like
basic daily life activities, they would not know how to do.
So it'd be like if the government went and said, "All right, Chris, we're taking you and we're going to drop you in Russia."
Yes, that's
and
exactly.
I know nothing.
Yes, and that's exactly how all dreamers feel because they literally do not know anything about their home countries. And they've always been taught, you know, so that they would be accepted in the United States. Like you have to speak English. You have to, a lot of actually parents, and I know from some relatives, they did not teach their children Spanish. They would rather have them not speak Spanish because they just had that big desire that they wanted them to fit in the United States.
Okay, so this goes back to, and we got about a minute left.
Okay.
This goes back to a lot of a few of the bad apples that we hear about that have been in the country 7, 8, 10 times and been deported every time. Those are a very, very, very minute percentage of what we're talking about with the dreamers or any immigrants, correct?
Yes. So like I said, from my personal experience, from what I've seen, is you always have to be on your best behavior. You cannot afford to make one small mistake because that one small mistake could be your ticket to your country that you've never been to. The majority of immigrants, especially out here in Southwest Kansas, they're hardworking families. They stay under the radar. They don't get in trouble because, like I said, since you're a kid, you are raised that you have to be the best. You have to work twice as hard as everybody else because, you know, you work hard, you want to be accepted. And like I said, you can't get in any trouble. If you get in trouble, then you're already under the radar to be sent back.
Ooh.
And with us, I mean, we don't want people that are committing crimes either.
Well,
if
no,
there's people
it makes everybody else
then
look
we
bad.
have to take the toll too, because then it makes us look bad. They want to judge all of us for one person, or I mean, with every race, there's people that commit crimes. Every 50 people that committed crimes,
well, yeah.
You know, every race commits crimes. So you cannot sit here and say that it's the Mexicans doing this, bringing in all the drugs. No, every race commits crime. But we don't like people in our race that commit crimes either, because then we have to take the backlash from it. Then we get judged by it. Then, you know, then they want to call us all criminals and all this crazy stuff. And no, that's not the case. Like I said, most people are taught that you cannot afford to make one mistake or you will be sent back.
Whew. We haven't heard the end of this, have we?
No, I could go on and on and on.
I know, and you haven't made your last trip to Washington yet, have you?
No,
okay.
I'm going to keep fighting for my students.
Right.
And I know it's silly. Like people ask me, why do you even care? Like you're not even undocumented anymore. And it's a personal issue. I was undocumented for a very long time. So I know the struggles that these families face. I know the struggles that my students face. I know the pain and emotional side. I still have to deal with it every day. My dad's not here anymore.
Right.
So,
Janeth, thank you very much. You have shed a whole new light on this for me.
Yeah.
And I hope for a lot of other people, because there was a lot of misconceptions.
And it's an uncomfortable conversation,
Yeah.
and I respect other people's opinions. I respect both people's sides, but I just want people to give me the time of day and just listen. Just talk to me for one day, and then after you are done listening to the facts, then if you still think,
keep me updated. And come back. You're welcome back anytime.
It's complicated.
Right.
Even I have a hard time understanding, and I've lived through this.
All right. So you are now my expert go-to when I have questions on this. Okay? Fair?
Yes, deal.
All right. Janeth, thanks for coming by today.
Thank you so much for having me here.
All right.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining us on this special edition of High Plains Today. We'll see you back here next week.
Keep up to date with the latest information from TV 23 on our Facebook page, KDGL TV.